Welcome to another episode of True Crimes and Weird Times. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kim.
And today I'm going to be sharing the story that very well may have been what started the little green men phenomenon in alien stories and abductions. On the night of August 21st, 1955, a very large and very frantic family arrived at the police station in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. They claimed that small extraterrestrial creatures had landed a spaceship near their home and began to attack them for several hours.
I would immediately say, okay, crazy.
Yeah. If you're familiar with alien stories.
Oh, I am.
You might have heard this called the Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter, or the Hopkinsville Goblins case, or the Kelly Green Men case.
I feel like I've heard of this one for sure, but I can't remember all the details.
You may have. It's a pretty big one. At the Sutton home in Kelly, Kentucky, on the night of August 21st, there were like a billion people in this house. We have Mrs. Lankford, who is pretty much kind of over the home, but she lives there with J.C. Sutton and his wife, Aileen, and their 3 children. And at the time, Aileen's brother, O.P. Baker, was at the home. And J.C.'s brother, Elmer Sutton, who we're going to call Lucky, and his wife, Vera. Billy Ray Taylor, who was Elmer's friend, and like they were all just taking a break from their job working at a traveling carnival at the Sutton home. And Billy Ray's wife, June. And then there were some more kids, but I didn't get a lot of information on them, but there was at least 7 children that like ended up at the police station that night. So there's like a ton of people in this house, and this house is like just a 3-room house.
So yeah, a ton of people.
A ton of people. And I say that because I'm about to start saying some names, and I want you to kind of get a feel for who's who. So at about 7:30 that night, Billy Ray decided he wanted to go outside and get some water from the well. And he claims to have seen a silvery metallic saucer with a rainbow color exhaust tail flying about 30 to 40 feet overhead. Now, this passed over the house and continued over the fields and stopped midair and dropped straight down into a gully near the home. Naturally, Billy Ray ran back inside to tell the others what he saw, but they thought it was a joke. They didn't really believe him. They kind of just like, okay, Billy Ray.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah. About 30 minutes later, at around 8 p.m., they heard the dog barking outside. And now he was barking so persistently and violently that Lucky and Billy Ray actually went to the back door to see what he was barking at. They saw the dog put his tail between his legs and run underneath the house.
That's the part. I remember this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was it for me. The dog. The dog is what jogged my memory on this story.
No, they say that the dog didn't even come out until the next day. Like, that dog was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they noticed that they could see a glow coming from the field, I'm assuming where the gully was, and it was coming closer towards the house. Now, as it came closer, they could see like a small human-like creature in the middle of this glow. They said it was about 3.5 feet tall. It had a large round head, long arms that almost touched the ground, and hands that were kind of pointed like talons or claws.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, a little bit. Its eyes were almost a glowing yellow color, and on like normal animals, they're either like on the front of your head or the sides of their head.
Mm-hmm.
This was like towards the middle of their head, just kind of glowing.
Oh.
They noticed that its skin was silver and metallic, and it also seemed to glow. And they said that it was almost like it was floating, like they never saw any feet. It never looked like it was walking. It just kind of was floating towards them.
Ugh.
Yeah. Now, as they noticed this creature coming towards them, they do what any man living on a farm in Kentucky, I suppose, would do, and they ran back inside and grabbed their .22 rifle and a 20-gauge shotgun.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
I can't say I would do anything different, though.
Oh, no. Absolutely not. Now, as the creature gets even closer to the house, they begin to shoot. I mean, again, naturally, what are they going to do?
Yeah, there's a creepy monster floating towards us. I'd probably also shoot at it.
Well, I don't know. I'd probably go hide because I don't think I could shoot very well.
That's true, yeah. In my head, I would be like this crazy badass that shoots at it. But in real life, I'd probably cry and hide in a corner.
I'd be yelling at my husband to get it.
Yep.
Now, when they shoot at this creature, it blasts it backwards and onto the ground, but the bullets didn't seem to affect it. Like, it didn't seem like a wounded animal or creature. It just gets back up and it runs or, well, floats into the darkness towards the side of the house. It was quiet for a few moments, so the guys just went back inside, check on everyone. Hey, let everybody know what's going on.
Everybody good? There's aliens outside.
Everybody good? No, okay. This is when someone spots another one of these creatures actually looking inside one of the windows in the living room. So, of course, the guys freak out and start shooting again, and they're like shooting inside the house now.
So when I was a kid, I watched some alien abduction show. I'm talking like 6 or 7 years old. And I had this recurring nightmare of looking out my window and seeing an alien face staring back at me. So I got some like serious gross chills on that one.
Heaves from that one. Gross. Billy Ray decides to go out and see if they hit the creature this time, which, I mean, they saw that they hit the creature last time.
Well, yeah.
But Aileen pulls him back inside and screams because she sees a long clawed hand reaching down from like the low porch roof. So, like, I guess grabbing at him? I'm not sure.
Oh.
So Lucky runs outside and shoots again, and he knocks this creature off the roof. And then Billy Ray notices another one of these creatures sitting in a tree nearby. And then they shoot at it, and they actually knock it out of the tree. And then they notice that he's not falling out of the tree, but more like floating out of the tree. So they shoot at it again, and then the creature finally just kind of runs off into some bushes.
I'm getting some serious Signs vibes off of this story.
Just grab a glass of water.
I feel like I found the inspiration for that plot line.
Well, I don't know. Okay, we'll get into it in a minute, and of course I'll put it in the show notes. But there's some pictures of these things based off their descriptions, and it kind of just looks like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Oh.
So now this is what I'm picturing. Just
yeah, that's way less terrifying than what I'm picturing.
So now they're finally starting to notice that, bullets don't seem to be working on these things. So they run back into the house. They're trying to figure out a plan. Someone notices that, like, they're trying to stay in dark areas and, like, the lots, they tend to stay out of the lot. So they're flipping lots on through the house, to try to keep them away. But it wasn't long before they started hearing some noises and tapping and movement along, I guess, the roof of the kitchen. The guys went back out there, shot again, knocking it off the roof again. It floated to the ground and then kind of perched on a fence nearby. I bet you can guess what they did.
Did they shoot at it again?
They shot at it again. And it kind of scurried into some underbrush. These creatures were like, okay, those video games where, like, you have to keep fighting off things and they kind of just come in waves?
Space Invaders?
That's a good one. It was kind of like that. Like, they would back off for a second and then more would show up and they're shooting and it's just chaos.
Terrifying chaos.
Yeah. Because they're kind of showing up in waves, they're starting to get a better look at them. And they notice that their legs never seem to bend. They don't seem to show any kind of knee joint. Their arms were long and only like slightly bent, maybe at the elbow. Like I said, they didn't really have feet because they seemed to float. They didn't really notice their feet. The glowing eyes and head never seemed to turn or track any movements. It was just kind of looking straight ahead. Their bodies seemed to glow more when they were being shot at or shouted at. They had large triangular ears that kind of looked floppy and wrinkled.
I'm now picturing gremlins.
Yeah, I can see that too. Now, there were no discernible sexual characteristics, like they were genderless, so they couldn't tell if anything were male or female. They didn't make any sounds as they moved, and I mean, if they had a mouth, they didn't cry out in pain or make any noises when they were being shot at. Another strange thing they noticed is that they kept coming back, like even after being shot at so many times for hours. But they never showed any aggression. They never showed any hostility, like they were coming to attack them. And they never tried to like actually enter the home. They just stayed around windows.
Watched them?
Like watching them.
Oh, God. Why did they not call 911 at some point during all of this?
Well, this is Kentucky in 1955. Who's going to show up? I think the nearest police station was probably Hopkinsville, where they eventually drove to.
I still would have done it.
And maybe they didn't have a phone, too. I mean, this is...
That's true.
They're on a farm. This is probably backwoods Kentucky. I didn't actually look to see exactly where it's at, so... But just, knowing the South.
Yeah, makes sense.
This kept going on until around 11 p.m., so this is at least 3.5, 4 hours worth of these things showing up, them shooting at them, they're running away, now they're coming back. Everybody's, the kids were in tears, everybody's terrified. I don't know how they kept all their ammo. Like, how much ammo did they have?
I was just thinking that. I was like, man, they've got a lot of bullets.
Yeah. And finally, they just decided to, make a run for it to their cars, and then they fled the home and made their way to the Hopkinsville Police Department, where we started.
They must have had several cars.
I think they piled up in 2 cars.
I would make that work as well.
Yep, I was going to say, I don't think it would matter.
Mm-hmm.
That is my best friend Jenny over there on that side of the table.
Hi, that's my lifelong best friend Taylor.
Are you into ghosts, aliens, or murder? If you are among friends because we love talking about terrible things too.
It's why we started our podcast, A Little Bit Grim.
Where we would talk about the paranormal,
True crime,
folklore,
conspiracies,
cults,
disasters,
and every other heinous thing that could happen to a person.
It's a little bit spooky.
With a little bit of comedy mixed in.
Honestly, it's all just a little bit grim.
And you can find us wherever you stream your favorite podcasts.
And you can find us on all social media platforms by searching for A Little Bit Grim.
We'll see you there.
Goodbye!
Now, of course, like you said earlier, this story sounded completely crazy. It sounded wild, but they noticed that the family was genuinely frightened. Like, they were really scared.
Mm-hmm.
The police chief, he said that, quote, something scarred those people, something beyond reason, nothing ordinary. He even went on to say that these people weren't the type of people to just come into a police station for help. They're gonna go for their guns first.
Mm-hmm.
When they saw that it wasn't working and it wasn't making a difference, then their next step was to come get help. They didn't know what else to do. So they're not just gonna walk into a police station.
Let's call this the Kim gets goosebumps story because every 5 seconds.
About 30 minutes later, the Hopkinsville Police Department, the Kentucky State Police, Christian County Sheriff Department, and a photographer for the Kentucky New Era newspaper, obviously, all reported to the home.
So they really did take them seriously if they sent that many people out.
Yeah. I mean, they must have really sounded genuine. Now, of course, remember, this is probably 12:30 now. It's dark. We're not talking street lights and stuff around, so they're probably not going to find a ton of stuff.
Yeah, just flashlights aren't going to get you very far, probably.
They still they searched the home and the property. They looked for any evidence of what happened, but they were also even looking for evidence of maybe drinking or, just some kind of hoax. But no one found anything of the latter at the scene. But, I mean, everyone was still kind of on edge. The police chief said, quote, in and around the whole area, the house, the fields, that night, there was a weird feeling. It was partly uneasiness, but not entirely. Everyone had it. There were men there that I'd call brave. Men I've been in dangerous situations with. They felt it too. They told me so. Okay, maybe it's...
Panic.
The story they just heard, and now they're in the dark.
Yeah, monster hunting probably gives you a little bit of a... Ugh.
Gives you the willies. Again, they didn't find a ton of evidence, but they did find a strange patch of grass around the area that Lucky and Billy Ray said they shot one of the creatures on the fence. It was luminous, and it was, I mean, you could tell a clear difference between the patch of grass and, the rest of the grass.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was just kind of lighter, a little bit brighter than the rest. And then, of course, they found plenty of bullet casings and bullet holes within the fence and the home. But other than that, they didn't find anything else. They didn't find any footprints, no little floating creatures, no flying saucers. They didn't find anything.
I mean, on the other side, floating creatures is awfully convenient for not having to have footprints around.
Yeah. How convenient. Eventually, the investigators started to trickle off of the scene, and by 2:15, the family was, left alone again at the farm. just as they started to settle down for the night, the creatures returned. Mrs. Langford was trying to sleep when she noticed a glow from her window. And as she focused, she saw one of the creatures standing at her window, like looking into the room. She saw his eyes. She said she noticed his hand up on the screen.
Ooh,
Just kind of looking in. No big deal.
Peeping Tom aliens.
Thinking to herself, oh, maybe it's just one of those things where you're half asleep and you think you see something. But she said that she looked away and looked back again at the creature several times, and it was like still there. So it was not something she was just dreaming up. She quietly got the attention of the other members of the family. Of course, Lucky jumped up, gun in hand, and he shot at the creature again. And again, it didn't affect it. It just kind of ran off. Finally, by like 5:15 in the morning, the last of the creatures were seen, but by then it's daybreak. Everyone in the home was tired, afraid, they didn't get any sleep. So I guess they just had, a big cup of coffee, and then the police were back to do some more investigating. Now, this time they brought everybody back from before, but they also had the help of some military representatives from Fort Campbell. But before that sounds like really sketchy or anything, I did find on an article on history.com that while the incident eventually attracted the attention of the Air Force, documents suggest that its team never officially pursued the matter, just kind of checking in with Fort Campbell counterparts who had been briefly at the scene.
As far as we know, they didn't look into it.
Right. I mean, we're talking aliens here, so. Also, word had spread, and now there were reporters from Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, tons of just sightseers trying to come out and see what the fuss is all about. I mean, the place is just overrun. A man named Andrew B. Ledwith, who was actually an amateur radio announcer and engineer, sat down with the family to speak with them and kind of sketch out what they saw. Now, he sat down with each person and got details of what they had seen that night. He said that no one wavered in their story, no one wavered in what they saw, and if he happened to, make a suggestion that would kind of divert from what they said, they would be quick to just correct him. No, that's not what happened. So he got their descriptions and he sketched out something he gave the name the Hopkinsville Goblins. And again, if you look at these pictures on our social media, they look like goblins.
I just pulled up the picture.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. It kind of does look like Stitch from the movie. But yeah, they're not something I would want to see looking in my window at night for sure.
Once this picture got out to everybody, it kind of sensationalized it. And the farm was just, again, becoming overrun with sightseers, even past the investigations. So any evidence anybody was looking for, footprints or otherwise, they could have easily just been trampled over, tampered with,
Mm-hmm.
But every day, more and more people showed up to this farm. They started blocking roads. They stared at them. They made jokes. They would question the family, just peer into their windows. I mean,
what?
Yeah. They're lucky they didn't get shot at then, considering what this family just went through.
Yeah.
They forced them to take photos with them. They even, some people even tried to enter the home without permission.
Oh my God.
Just walking through like it's a freaking museum. They even began requesting to set up food and beverage stands at the farm. Again, like this is some kind of carnival sideshow. Of course, they're like, no. They tried to put up no trespassing signs. That didn't work. There wasn't enough. They couldn't pay anybody to guard the farm, and there wasn't enough police officers to come and do that. They pleaded with sightseers. They even called police to clear the area, but none of this worked. People just kept coming back to see what was going on.
I mean, I don't know. Personally, if I found out there were some aliens around someone's house, I'm not just going to go trespass at their house.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'm going to be real honest here. I might drive by, but...
Yeah, driving by is one thing. Peering in people's windows, though?
And trying to get inside their house. That's insane. Now, one day, the photographer who had showed up at the night of the investigation came back with a reporter who was working on the story. And the photographer noticed a small piece of aluminum foil that was around the area on the fence where they said they had shot one of the creatures. And then he exclaimed in front of, I'm sure, a ton of sightseers, "Look, here's your little green man," making it look like a big hoax. So now, of course, this is causing skepticism. People are starting to say that, this is just a big hoax.
I mean, maybe, but what was the end goal? Like, this didn't earn them money. It just made their life worse.
Yeah. But, I mean, even after all of these people are making fun of them, even after all the jokes and the rumors and the stories, they stayed true to their story. They didn't waver. Yeah, these things showed up at our house. But it didn't really help that they started kind of charging admission the next day for people to come in. But were they just trying to get rid of the crowds? Or just making a buck? Hey, if they're going to be out here.
Right. See, that was my first thought. Like, hey, if they're going to come out here anyway, they might as well pay us to get in.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't see that as the end goal personally. I mean, maybe it was, but...
Yeah, but why would you wait 2 or 3 days later to finally just say...
When the bulk of the people have slowed down. Yeah.
Now, finally, no one saw the goblins or aliens or creatures, and now everyone's thinking it's all a big hoax. The crowds finally started dwindling down, and all that was left was just the remains of the Sutton family story. So, what really happened? Did these guys really see some creatures coming towards their house, or was it just something a little bit more logical and made sense? Now, one of the theories was, like, maybe they were drunk, but, like, Mrs. Langford didn't allow alcohol in the home. Not that that means anything, but...
Yeah.
I mean, and the police didn't find any evidence of alcohol at the home. Also, and I don't know how true it is, but I kind of want to throw it in there. As I was researching, I found a Reddit thread on it, and somebody had commented that the family was Pentecostal, I believe. And, like, they said if they're anything like they are now, I mean, alcohol was a big no-no.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, another theory that is kind of like the one people just stick with, scientists and such, is that they were great horned owls. Now, these owls, they have long wings. They can mistake those for arms, they say. They have large talons. They have large yellow eyes. They have long ears. I don't know about ears, but how they're...
The horns.
Yeah, the horns, that's why they're called that. And they have a round head, and they kind of also match a little men description. As for their metallic shine, they say that it could have just easily been reflecting moonlight. It also supports the theory of them floating if they're flying, which I know, again, I'm not on board with this one. I'm just saying, I kind of see where they're going with it.
I can see the logic here, but again, I'm thinking like these are farmers. These are people who live out here
You
all
would think
the time.
they know, yeah.
Surely they have seen an owl before.
Yeah.
Surely.
Well, and while owls are known to be active at dusk and extremely aggressive when defending their nest, some investigators question characterizations of the creatures as hostile. Like, if they were defending their nest and the creatures described weren't hostile, then those characterizations don't match up.
Yeah, they said they weren't attacking them. They were just looking.
They were just looking.
And, like, how is an owl just going to hover at a window looking inside?
I know. Well, and she said she saw one of the hands.
Yeah.
On the screen. So, I'm not seeing an owl do that.
Put its wing up there.
Hoo-hoo. Now, another theory is, like, just mass hysteria. UFO sightings were kind of first being reported around 1947. But there wasn't a lot said about what the occupants looked like inside these UFOs. Then, in 1950, True magazine published an article written by U.S. Marine Corps Major Donald E. Kehoe that was titled "Flying Saucers Are Real." And in the article, Kehoe had interviewed several military, commercial, and private pilots about their experiences with UFOs. The article itself didn't mention anyone inside the UFOs, but essentially it kind of gave the public the idea that, what is flying these UFOs?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, after this article, there was an influx of sightings,
Of course.
Yeah. Maybe this is just one of those sightings that was being reported through the 1950s. The thing is, if this was mass hysteria, their stories were consistent. They were all the same. They were genuinely afraid for their lives. And no one did anything out of character, and then they never retracted their story. So if this was mass hysteria, I mean, they were pretty hell-bent on keeping it.
If it was a small family, like 3 or 4 people, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they could all convince themselves they were saying it. But there's like 1,000 people in this house.
Yeah.
All of them saw the same thing.
I was going to say, at least 4 or 5 adults were seeing the same things. The kids I can see, holed up in a hallway or something crying because gunshots are going off and they don't know what's going on. But like these adults all have the same description of what's coming at them.
Yeah.
So I don't really buy the mass hysteria either.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that theory at all.
Another one is just, publicity. They were trying to become famous and then them trying to charge money. But again, trying to get rid of spectators, I'm sure. That's how I feel. I feel like, or just trying, if they're going to be there.
Might as well.
Might as well
get something out of this traumatic experience.
Yeah. Well, and if they were trying to just become famous, they sure were acting strange for people who wanted to be famous. Like, they wanted reporters and everybody off of their property.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound like...
It seems
I saw them.
It seems like they'd be going out and doing more interviews and like trying to get on shows, like radio shows and stuff. And
yeah. Now, and the last one I threw in, because it's my favorite, was, what if this was just some circus monkeys?
She's laughing at the face I just made.
Yeah. One theory suggests that there was a carnival circus troupe kind of going through town, and like one of the trucks maybe got lost, and they just kind of let the monkeys out for a little while to roam, which makes 0 sense.
Who just releases their monkeys, first of all?
Oh, let's just let them go for a walk for a little bit.
But second of all, monkeys are very much not floating creatures.
Right. I don't know where that one come from.
Plus, you said that 2 of them worked at a carnival. They would recognize monkeys.
I would assume, yeah. But that one was funny. I don't know what they saw. I have no idea. If they were that genuinely afraid, they saw something. But I don't know.
I mean, the only theory I'm coming up with right now is like some kind of like CO leak or a gas leak or like
government. You are the government.
So like
swamp gas.
So that's all I got.
Yeah.
That's my only theory.
I have no idea. And something else that I just now kind of thought of. Okay, if you're already listening to this story, you probably have a good idea of like paranormal or cryptids or whatever. And you might have heard of the Hellier goblins, which is...
I have not.
There's a huge documentary on Amazon Prime, I believe, about the Hellier goblins. And they're in Kentucky too. Now, where at in terms of Kelly or Hopkinsville, I'm not sure. But maybe these were goblins, like for real goblins. Maybe they did see something paranormal.
Also a good theory.
And we'll talk about the Hellier goblins at some point too.
Yeah.
And real quick, I'm done, but real quick. I had a few fun facts that I actually found from Wikipedia that I thought were kind of cool. The Kelly community now celebrates the anniversary of the event on the 3rd weekend of every August with an event called the Kelly Little Green Men Days. I think it's just like a little small town carnival or something, They just kind of make light of it. According to a book of comedy horror films, the 1986 movie Critters is loosely based on the Kelly-Hopkinsville case.
I've never heard of that one, but I love the name Critters.
I was going to say, I've heard of Critters, but I don't think I've ever seen that. So, the Pokemon Sableye, which was introduced in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire.
I actually saw the picture of this one when I was looking up the guys. Yeah.
It's based on the goblins described in the Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter. In the games, they are animated with like a swaying or waiting motion, which is based on the creature's reported gait. And in the Pathfinder role-playing game, the Hobkins, which is a type of gremlin from the Bestiary 5 book, is based upon the goblins described in the encounter.
That's pretty cool, too.
Yeah. So, but that's it, guys. That's our goblin. That's our little green man.
Aliens. That's what I was trying to think of.
Thanks for listening.
Like us on Facebook at True Crimes and Weird Times Podcast.
Follow us on Instagram at True Crimes Weird Times.
Email us your stories at truecrimesweirdtimes@gmail.com.
And if you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review.
Bye.